nudge legislators like myself into the right direction, we have to understand these forces that are at play. We can do this through power mapping. Now, let's talk about the whats and the whys of power maps. It's also known as a web of influence. Let's discuss how this helps us influence decision makers and understand the forces that are acting on them. For example, constituents, personal and professional relationships, special interest groups, or political party leaders. Influencers are always evolving. So power mapping is a great way to build consensus and communicate a plan. The plan and the action for your team. It also helps to focus your efforts and sometimes even to shift efforts from complaining about a problem to making a productive plan of action.
Now we're going to talk about the steps to creating your power map. The first step is you want to identify what your goal is. As you're identifying what your goal is, it's important that you identify the problem and not yet specific solutions. That will come at a later point. Then it's also important to determine the aspects of your goal, not to jump to different conclusions about what the best pathway forward is, because there are multiple pathways forward to your goal. And then also you want to make sure that you're not getting stuck early on in the details, because that can blunt the brilliance and the brainstorming that should be happening in this first step of putting your power map together.
Who can make your goal happen? Now you need to identify who your real decision makers are. This is often a legislator, a city councilor, or another elected official, but it could also be an individual or a group that has the power to affect change in policy. This decision maker will depend on what your goal is. Sometimes a little research is needed to figure out who your target should be.
Now we're at the third step, where you create your power map. As you're creating your power map during this process, you want to make sure that you critically center brainstorming in this part of the activity. And when you're brainstorming, it's not always about the quality of the ideas, but it is about how many people on your team get to contribute to the overall strategy. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're building a comprehensive list of all of your advocates, community organizers, volunteers, because those are your actors. And your actors are who influence your target on the power map. And then you also want to make sure that you are dedicating time to place your target in the center of your power map and arrange a sticky note around your target. This is where you draw lines between your target and your actors and write a brief description of the relationship between the target and the actor or advocate. These are oftentimes referred to as relational lines of power. You may notice actors have connections to each other. Take note of who they are and work to implement and exploit those relationships. Step 4, create a power grid. Now, at this point, you want to assess the influence of each actor on your power map by placing them in the most appropriate quadrant. It may be helpful to ask yourself, are they for us or are they against us? Do they have a lot of influence or less influence?
Prioritize your list of targets. Circle the actors you want to direct your organizing efforts towards. This is probably those in the upper left quadrant of your power grid.
And now we are at the final step of our power map. This is the step where you determine the next steps based on your specific goal. Now, at this point, this could be building support for influential allies or neutralizing groups who may oppose your goal.